Hi everyone. So welcome to the stream today. Very much excited for having you once again on our stream. Today we're looking at exam tips, and I'm going to be providing you with some key areas you need to focus on in order for you to prepare well for your examination in relation to that. So if you joined the stream, give us a thumbs up on the video, and any questions you have, put them in the chat box for me. I'm going to be answering all of your questions for you. So put your questions in your chat box for me. Remember, the exams is coming on 13th of July 2020. That is the ICA May 2020 examination. And so now we are gearing towards how we can strategize and how we can study and how we can prepare well for the examination. Remember, ultimately, the objective is for you to be able to prepare well for the examination, know what you are supposed to do, and then excel in the exam hall, and ultimately pass the exams and go to the next level and take your life to the next level. So give us a thumbs up on the video. That way we get more engagement on the video, and YouTube will be able to push the video so we'll be able to reach as much people as possible. I see some comment from David. MCA says hello. Hello, David and MCA. I hope you're doing well. David MRM said, this is David from Nigeria. Okay. Then Chukuma Chado said, hi, I just came to listen for a bit. I did what you said and found a channel that does adjusting entry. That's excellent. I love that spirit. Implementing strategies, immediately you hear about them or you come to knowledge about them. That's awesome. And I know it's going to be helping you in relation to that. Samuel Kwaisin, I see you. You are welcome. Give us a thumbs up on the video, all right? Give us a thumbs up on the video. Andrew Oponbeko, hello. I believe you are doing well. Jonas, I see you. Hello. I hope you're doing well. Give us a thumbs up on the video. That way we get more engagement on the video. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat box for me, as I'll be answering all of your questions and providing you with some key strategies, areas of focus for the examination. Let me know the subject you are writing in the chat box. Let me know the the subject you are writing. Swaneka, is this Louisa Swaneka? Swaneka Louisa. I don't know if it is her. Probably it's her. Okay. I see a thumbs up from you. That's great. What subject are you writing? Put it in the chat box for me. This is our examination analysis document on various subjects, which we're going to be discussing with our students here in relation to that. But like I mentioned, I'm going to be providing you with some strategies and some key issues that you need to look out for in relation to that. Okay, so I'm going to be providing you with some key issues in relation to that. Now, some of you have been calling and DMing us concerning a intervention class or something like that in relation to that. I mentioned it yesterday, but let me say it again. We don't do an intervention class. We do an executive revision master class, and that is a 3 weeks executive revision master class where we're gonna go have a revision session, have a one-on-one session with me. We're going to have a mock session as well as be able to answer the mock questions in relation to that. So it's an intensive 3 weeks executive revision masterclass, and that is also exclusive for our students. So it's not open to the public. So for those of you who are asking about it, please take note of that. I don't do intervention class. We do an executive revision masterclass, and it is for our students, exclusively for our students in relation to that. Okay, so I see Kwame Prince, you are welcome. I see Nuhu, you are welcome. I see no. David Sam said advanced audit and national. Tell me in the chat box, what subjects are you writing? Let me provide you with some strategies, some key areas of focus to help you. Kwame Prince said principles of taxation and management accounting. Okay. And then I see corporate reporting and cost accounting. Patience said, greetings house, greetings Nhyira. Oh, Patience, I hope you're doing well. Then this message is held for a review. I don't know, somebody showed a message. So, okay, so it's hidden, sorry, for a review. I don't know what you sent. MCA, I guess you were sending a contact in the chat box. It will be blocked by YouTube because we don't allow contact and emails to be sent in the chat. So you will not be able to see it. Mohammed, good evening, Mohammed. I hope you are doing well. In the chat box, tell me the subject you are writing. Let me provide you with some strategies and some key areas you need to focus on. Okay, I see Jonas. He said advanced financial reporting, CPA. Okay. Ebenezer Atta, I see you. Nuhu said financial accounting. Patience, okay, giving us an emoji, and then Ebenezer Atta giving us a thumbs up as well in the chat box. MCA said, I am sitting for strategic performance management, strategic financial management, corporate financial management, risk and corporate governance, and financial reporting analysis. Okay. MCA, what professional course are you writing? David Sam, I see you. You said Advanced Audit and Assurance, ACCA. That's great. MCA, what professional course are you writing? Is it CPA or CFA? Let me know. Samuel Kwesi said all level 3 papers. Okay, that's fine. All right. Now, if you know there is someone or your colleagues that must be here, share the video with them or give them a call real quick so that they can join the stream. And if you join the stream, give us a thumbs up on the video, right? That way we get more engagement and we'll be able to go ahead in relation to that. Okay, so David said he's writing the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Nigeria. Okay, Ebenezer FR and Principles of Taxation. David Emerem said performance management, audit, management and ethics, FR, and then PSA. Okay, that's great. Ebenezer Atta, don't worry much. We're going to be discussing the examination analysis document in detail in class, okay, during our Zoom sessions and others. So don't worry too much about it. Hello? Is my sound okay? Can you check for me if my sound is okay? Sort of my network is misbehaving. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Ebenezer, after I have seen that Swanika, sorry, financial reporting and public sector. Okay. Louisa, if it is you, Louisa, don't worry. We're going to be discussing these things in detail later on. David Sam, strategic business reporting, ACCA. Okay. MCA says bachelor degree in applied accounting, auditing, and information system. Okay, patient said the sound is better. All right, that's awesome. So let's get into our discussions real quick today. Yesterday, I shared with you a couple of things you need to do in order for you to position yourself for the examination. And today we want to look at a couple of other issues in relation to that. To be specific, look at the examination analysis document and discuss a couple of things with you in relation to that. So let's begin with financial reporting. Let's begin with financial reporting. Now, when it comes to financial reporting, yesterday I gave you a glimpse of what the exams was in the November 2019 examination date, but I'm going to also provide you with a couple of things today. Now, some things that the examiner spoke about from the examiner's report are as follows. Okay, I see John Edu, you said FR and MA. Okay, so I see a lot of people with financial reporting. We are starting with financial reporting, so you pay close attention. Now, when it comes to the performance in financial reporting, last semester, about 80% of the students scored less than 40% of the total marks, meaning that a lot of students failed the exams. And from the chief examiner's report, the failure could be due to a couple of reasons. The first one is inadequate preparation by candidates. The second one is lack of understanding in financial reporting standards. So two key issues that the examiner raised: lack of preparation. And this actually cuts across in a lot of the subjects. But since we are taking subject specific, let's look at the subject specific. So lack of preparation and then lack of understanding. Lack of understanding of financial reporting standards. These are the two major reasons that the examiner raised in the examiner's report in relation to what was the reason why about 80% of students scored less than 40% in relation to that. So why am I sharing this with you? It means that if you are going into the exam or as a financial reporting student, you make sure that you are prepared for the exams. And yesterday I dealt with a couple of strategies for you. Understand the basic principles. The first one is your mindset, because the battle is won in the mind. So if you believe you can do it, you believe it is possible, then make sure that you focus on the basic principles and then get an examination analysis, and then you practice a lot of questions. So what are the issues that we need to look out for in relation to that? Like I mentioned all the time, financial reporting's bedrock is number one, accounting standards. I cannot overemphasize this, and you must be aware of this one. Definitely, there are questions on the financial reporting standards. Now, let me give you a glimpse of last semester, the standards that were examined. We had a question on IAS 12, that is income tax. There was a question relating to IAS 16, property, plant, and equipment. There was a question on IFRS 16, leases. There was a question on IAS 10, events after the reporting period. There was a question on IFRS 9, financial instrument. There was a question on IFRS 5, held for sale and discontinued operation. There was a question on IAS 21, related party transaction, and IFRS 3, business combination. So these were the standards that were examined last semester. And so you realize that now, when I say these were the standards examined, it comes from 3 segments of the paper. The accounting standard segment, which is question 2, the single entity question, which is on question 3, preparation of the statement of financial performance and financial position, and then the question 5, the theory area. So across those 3 segments of the syllabus, of the exams, the question 2, the standards area, the question 3, the single entity area, and then the question 5, the theory area, these were the standards that were examined. IAS 12, IAS 16, IFRS 16, IAS 10, IFRS 9, IFRS 5, IAS 21, and IFRS 3 business combination. Now, what does that mean? It means that as a student of financial reporting, you cannot joke with the accounting standards. As you can see here, you see 2, 4, 6, 8 of the standards. Some are in theory, in a pro forma way, in the single entity financial statement. So they are part of the footnotes, and you got to fish it out in relation to that. To be specific, there was a tax question in the standards area, and there was a footnote about tax in the single entity financial statement in relation to that. Now, like I say all the time, if you are going into the financial reporting exam hall, there are a couple of standards that you must bear in mind, that you must understand that whether you like it or not, there will be questions on them, and you have to be in the position to be able to answer that. Cletus, I see you. You are welcome. Let me check this real quick. So these are the standards that were examined last semester. So the question is, how many of these standards do you understand? How many of these standards are you strong in? How many of these standards do you understand like off head in relation to that? That's what I mean by understanding the standards. Now, let me know in the chat box, for those of you writing financial reporting and corporate reporting, which of these standards are you strong in, and which of these standards do you have problems with in relation to that? Let me know in the chat box. I'm trying to switch my network a little bit because I see the provider I'm on currently, it's just messing me up a little bit. Okay. So we can put it on now. Good. So these were the standards that was examined. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Okay. Guess my sound is okay now. So these were the accounting standards examined last semester. Now, like I tell you all the time, if you're a financial reporting student or even corporate reporting, I'll come to corporate reporting in a moment. IAS 12, it's a regular customer. There will be a question on it. Either there will be a whole question on it, like last semester, or it will be part of the single entity. Who pay, who pay, it is there. IAS 16, it's critical, it's fundamental. Whether you like it or not, there is a footnote about IAS 16 you're going to be dealing with in relation to that. So these were the standards that were examined last semester, and together they were forming a huge aspect of the syllabus. So if you build your understanding on the accounting standards, you will be able to increase your chances of passing the examination. That is very critical. That is very important in relation to that. Samuel Questions said, by the grace, I'm good in all, but you can touch on IAS 12. Okay. Patient said, an overview of these compulsory standards would be great, and their practical application. Definitely, we will not be able to go over all of them. After watching this stream, you can check out the playlist on my channel, Accounting Standard Series. As of today, we have 48 videos in that playlist, and I covered all the standards that you need in order for you to prepare well for your examination. So you can watch that in relation to that. So one key area you need to focus on as a financial reporting student will be the accounting standards, because you will find a question on it in question 2. They will be in the footnote for question 3, single entity financial statement, and they will also be in question 5. So understanding of the financial reporting standards or the accounting standards will be a plus for you in relation to that. Like I said, these were last semester. And aside the IAS 16 and IAS 12, it doesn't mean these standards may be there again. There are other standards like IAS 35. Sorry, did I say 35? IAS 36, IAS 38, IAS 23, IAS 20, IAS 40, IFRS 15. All of those guys are also standards that you need to be focusing on in relation to that. So that is the first area you have to look at as a student in financial reporting. Then we come to the second aspect which you need to be looking at. The second aspect we need to be looking at is the issue in relation to consolidated financial statements. Now, I have said this, that if it is my option, or maybe I have a right to make a decision, consolidated financial statements should be answered as question 4 or question 5. This is my recommendation to you, because many a time students writing financial reporting are confident about consolidation. So they will go there, question 1, and they start putting pro forma down. I have told you, don't go and do that in the exam hall. Putting pro forma down without workings will not score you any marks. Get Zokbo for it. So don't go and put pro forma down. So you pick the consolidated question, and you realize that you are reading the footnote and you don't understand, you don't know what is happening. So this is what I recommend. If you are writing financial reporting, build your understanding in the accounting standards very well, so that you can go to the question 2 first. Okay, that is the accounting standards. From there, you can go to question 4. That is the interpretation of financial statements. Build your understanding on that one very well as well. From there, you can go to question 5. That is the theory areas. Usually question 5 is going to be theory on ethics. Definitely now for financial reporting, there will be a question on ethics in the exam hall. So you make sure that you understand ethics, because there will be a question on that. And the question 5 there too, there will be questions around conceptual framework and regulatory framework, and then some standards question again there. So you go to the question 2, come to the question 4, go to the theories, or among these 3 options, arrange them and do them in that order, because your real thinking in the exam hall may start at question 1 as well as question 3, which is consolidated financial statements and then the single entity, because of the footnotes and the treatments that you need to make in relation to that. So I recommend that don't start with the consolidated financial statement. It may cripple you. Many students fail their financial reporting exams because of the approach they go with in the exam. So build your understanding on the financial reporting standards. Check the playlist, Accounting Standards series. I've covered all the accounting standards you need to pass your exams. So check it out on the channel, watch all of them. Question 4 is about interpretation of financial statement. I did a 2-part series on interpretation of financial statement. That is also available on the channel. Watch them and understand how you interpret financial statement. Question 5 is issues about ethics, conceptual framework. We've done some videos on ethics. You can get it on the channel and watch. So before you come to consolidated financial statement and question 3, you have potentially approached or attempted 60 marks questions. Okay, potentially you have attempted 60 marks questions. Now, from this 60 marks, let's say you are generous, maybe you give the examiner even 25 of it, or maybe you give him 20 of it so that you'll be able to make 40 out of these 3 questions. It's possible. Don't say, Nhyira, it's not possible. Remember, I told you the journey is in the mind. The battle, you'll be winning the battle from the mind. So prepare yourself for the exam so that from these 3 questions, out of the 60, you can get 40. So by the time you go to the consolidated financial statement and a single entity financial statement, so you can do the workings a little bit and some marks from there, you should be able to pass financial reporting hands down. Okay, you should be able to pass financial reporting hands down. Why? Because if you understand the financial reporting standards very well, you understand how to interpret financial statements very well, you understand the issue in relation to ethics, conceptual framework, the question 5 theory areas, you will be in a better position to be able to pass your exams in relation to that. So this is my recommendation to you. Now, in addition to that, this also cut across in other subjects in the syllabus in relation to that. Charles, I see you. You said network problem, so sorry, that's rather unfortunate. The question 5 area is theory, but one of the complaints of the examiner in the reading subject and the theory aspect of the questions has been students having spelling mistakes or spelling problems, construction of their English language. So expression has been an issue. Then, so apart from spelling issue, shorthands and abbreviation, because of the use of social media, some people carry the WhatsApp messages they send to the exam hall. So instead of, and the way you copy your notes, you'll be doing a couple of shortcuts. People are doing it in the exam hall, and the examiner has been lamenting on this and talking about this over the years. And last semester examination, there was also this in the exam. So you got to make sure that the reading subjects, the reading areas that you're going to be writing, you work on your spelling, you work on your grammar, your expression. You make sure that you are not doing any shorthands, any abbreviations in relation to that, because for goodness sake, this is an exams. You're not texting your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your wife or your husband or your whatever. This is an exams. So you got to be professional. You got to be official here in relation to that. So please make sure you work on that so that you don't carry that social media behavior to the exam hall, because it's going to cost you at the end of the day. If you're writing there and you write E and hyphen on top of it, who understands that? We just circle it. We even deduct you some marks in relation to that, because professionally, you're not supposed to do that, because a lot of you are found wanting in some of these things in relation to that, and has been a challenge that the examiner has been expressing bitterly on over the years in relation to that. So make sure that you work on that. This does not apply only to the financial reporting students, but also applies to all students. If you're writing public sector, all of those things, you must look at it in relation to that. So that is the structure of the exams. Question 1 is going to be consolidation. We expect the examiner to maintain this. Or question 2 is going to be on standards. Question 3 is going to be on single entity financial statements. Question 4 is going to be interpretation of financial statements. Question 5 is going to be what I call the no man's land area, because it's going to be theory covering ethics, covering conceptual framework, regulatory framework, and then some standards as well in relation to that. So that is what you must understand about it. So generally, when it comes to financial reporting, these are some of the things that I can mention, I can tell you about it. Above all, like I mentioned, make sure you build your understanding on the financial reporting standards. And I can't overemphasize this. Understand the accounting standards very, very well. Now, it doesn't mean you will be 100%, but it doesn't mean, but you can do it. Don't say, oh, Nhyira, the standards is too many, so which ones are coming? No, I'm not in the position to tell you that, or do I even know to tell you? So you just be perfect. Try to be perfect, try to go over, try to go through it. You can understand them very well. Then consolidated financial statements. I did a series also on the consolidated financial statement. We solved some questions on that in financial reporting here. So make sure you go through them. How do you determine the group structure? How do you determine the percentage of acquisition? How do you deal with the issues about fair value of consideration transferred? How do we value NCI? How do we deal with fair value adjustments? How do we deal with NCI at the end of the year? How do we compute goodwill? How do we deal with this? So make sure you understand all of those principles, and you will be in a better position to be able to pass the examination. So financial reporting, these are the things that I'll be sharing with you in relation to that. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat box. If you joined the stream also, give us a thumbs up on the video. That way we get more engagement on the video, and we will be able the video will be pushed by YouTube so that many other people will be able to watch it in relation to that. So that is it about financial reporting. So let's go to management accounting. Then I'm going to come to the level 3 issues that I have there. So management accounting. So when it comes to management accounting, I have shared this with you already, but let me say this again. The exams based on the November 2019 was 40% calculation, sorry, reading, and then 60% calculation. Okay, so you're going to be writing a lot of English and doing some calculations as well in relation to that. So 40% reading, 60% calculation in relation to that. Augustine, I see you. I hope you're doing well. So this is how management accounting is going to be. So for those of you writing management accounting, like last semester, 40% was reading. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be the same all the time. Probably the examiner can do 70 calculation, 30% reading, or the examiner can do 50% reading, 50% calculation. And there are a lot of reading areas in man accounting. Something like dealing with value chain analysis, dealing with ethics, dealing with the balance scorecard, dealing with the short-term decisions, dealing with budgeting, dealing with variance analysis, dealing with performance measurement, appraisal of the organization. So there will be a lot of written questions or comment questions in management accounting that you have to be in a position to be able to work at. This was what I was mentioning earlier, or talking about earlier, in relation to the issue about your spelling, your grammar construction, the abbreviations and those areas. Very, very important in relation to that. So this is going to be, or this is the structure of the exams as at November 2019. If it is going to change slightly, because man accounting has a lot of reading areas, a lot of theory areas, the examiner is almost always going to be doing the structure something like this. If anything, 35, 65, 30, 70, or maybe 45, 55 in relation to that, because there are sometimes where the examiner will want to pull a surprise to see whether students are reading or they aren't reading in relation to that. Because I know many of you doing man accounting, chances are you've not taken time to really read the theory. You are calculating over profit statement, activity-based costing, marginal costing, absorption costing. You are dealing with break-even analysis, investment appraisal, budgeting, preparation of functional budget, master budget, dealing with the issue in relation to analyzing or assessing the organization's performance. Yes, all these are good. All these are critical. But remember that in addition to the calculations, in addition to the computation, there are also reading areas. Or under each topic, there are reading areas like pricing decisions, like break-even analysis, like absorption costing, activity-based costing, balance scorecard, value chain analysis, ethics, budgeting, variance analysis, performance evaluation. All of these things have reading areas that you have to look at as a student in relation to that. So if you're writing man accounting, what I want to emphasize here for you is that yes, there's going to be calculation. So as you are doing your profit statement, marginal costing, activity-based costing, as you are dealing with the issue in relation to preparation of budget, all of those things are critical, but make sure you pay attention to the reading areas as well. For those of you who say, I don't like reading, I've dealt with you yesterday in relation to that. I've told you it's not that you don't like it. You need to focus. You need to pay attention to what you are reading, and you will be able to understand, because you can't go to the management accounting exams with only a solid understanding of the calculation topics. You need a full understanding of the topics in relation to that. So that is what you must understand when it comes to this. So if this is the structure of the examination, let's look at a couple of things in relation to some problems that the examiner mentioned that students were having. Now, the examiners mentioned that students' performance was unsatisfactory. No percentage was given for the students' performance. Unlike FR, where he mentioned that 80% of the candidates scored less than 40%. Here it wasn't there, but he mentioned that it was unsatisfactory. So unsatisfactory could mean that unsatisfactory, and you can get it in relation to that. My teacher just mentioned the same last week, to pay attention to the reading and understanding. Yeah, very important in relation to that. So thank God it's confirming. So you know that your teacher wasn't lying to you. It's true. So what are some of the problems that the examiner raised that students were having when it comes to man accounting? Number one, lack of clarity and poor presentation. Clarity and poor presentation. Students aren't writing clearly, and they are also presenting poorly in relation to that. So that is something that you need to look at. Okay, I will catch reply tomorrow. Bye, sir. Okay, take care and good night. I believe you're going to bed already in relation to that. So clarity and poor performance, that was one of the issues raised by the examiner as the challenge that students were having. Number two is lack of understanding of concepts, okay? Lack of understanding of concepts and interpretation of results. So lack of understanding of concepts and interpretation of results. Another problem, another challenge of students. And then the last one, which I have mentioned already, is the poor expression of the English language. Poor expression of the English language. Remember, management accounting, a lot of reading aspects there. So people don't write well. And chances are, you see, I tell my students this, or something like this, that the English you speak, probably with your friends, it's not the same English that you need to write in the exam hall. Because in the exam hall, you got to be professional. In the exam hall, you got to be formal. All right. So the jargons and the WhatsApp and those kind of things that you do with your friends, when you get to the exam hall, you need to switch it. It's very critical. It's very, very important in relation to that. So that is one thing you must understand about man accounting. Now, so the big question we ask ourselves is, okay, Nhyira, what do we focus on when it comes to management accounting? What areas do we look at? What areas will we focus on? Now, among other things, when it comes to management accounting, there are a couple of key areas that you must understand in relation to that. The first thing has to do with budgeting. All right, budgeting. Certainly, we're going to be having a question on budgeting in relation to that in the exam hall that you must understand in relation to it. Now, last semester, the question on budgeting was preparation of the flex budget. That was what was there last semester in relation to that preparation of the flex budget. So you have to understand how to prepare the functional budget and then the master budget. That is the cash budget, the budgeted income statement, budgeted statement of financial position, and make sure, again, as you are looking at the calculation aspect, there are theories as well, the procedure for preparation of budget, methods of budgeting, reasons for budgeting, or the importance of budgeting in relation to that. So budgeting, very critical area. Number two, standard costing and variance analysis. Last semester, the examiner pulled a surprise on students in this area by bringing some uh, variances to calculate that many students weren't expecting in relation to that. It was the sales variances. So you had a sales profit margin variance, sales mix profit variance, sales quantity profit variance, sales volume profit variance in relation to that. But you must understand that standard costing variance analysis is an area that you must understand in relation to that. So that is one thing that you must understand. One thing you have to pay very close attention to in dealing with the issue about management accounting. Aside this, we also have the issue in relation to investment appraisal. Now, last semester, the examiner brought a question on the payback period, the NPV, as well as the issue in relation to the discounted cash flow method. So you got to make sure that you understand methods of investment appraisal. Not only that, you have to also make sure you understand the various theories surrounding this. Now, this is what you must understand. You may go to the exam hall and there will not be any question on investment appraisal. You may go to the exam hall and there may not be a question on investment appraisal. Now, don't take it personal if you see that in the exam hall, or the examiner can do that, has done that before on several occasions. So you may go to the exam hall and there will not be a question on investment appraisal. In that case, the examiner will bring questions coming from other areas of the syllabus, like short-term decision and those things. Short-term decision and those things. So you may go to the exam or there will not be investment appraisal. That doesn't mean you won't learn it all. Don't go and say, Nhyira said it won't come, so I won't learn. I didn't say that. I'm saying that if you go and it's not there, don't take it personal. Then another issue is the issue in relation to performance evaluation. Very critical area you need to focus on. Definitely there is going to be a question on performance evaluation in the exam hall that you must know about, calculating ratios and using them to evaluate the performance of the organization. And last semester, it was a general performance of the organization in relation to that, like general performance. So you were using the ROSI, the net profit margin, the asset turnover, and then the current ratio in relation to that. The examiner could switch to divisional evaluation, and you know the ratios that can be used there in relation to that. So performance evaluation is also another critical area that you need to look out for. Then certainly short-term decisions. Short-term decisions, there will be a question on this in the exam hall in relation to that. Now, last semester, the examiner brought pricing strategy and then break-even analysis. So you can look at the other short-term decisions, relevant costing analysis, make or buy, shutdown decision, limiting factor analysis, throughput accounting. I classify throughput as well as part of short-term decisions in relation to that. So you got to look at the short-term decisions, because certainly the examiner is going to be throwing a jab at you that you need to be able to cover in relation to that. So that is what you must understand generally when it comes to management accounting, budgeting, standard costing, variance analysis, the issue in relation to investment appraisal, performance evaluation, short-term decisions, then certainly some basic issues like the preparation of the cost and profit statement, okay? Cost and profit statement using the absorption costing, activity-based costing, those things in relation to that. So make sure you understand how all of these things are treated. Remember, balance scorecard is here. Remember, value chain is here. Remember, ethics is in the syllabus about man accounting. So you make sure that you understand all of these if you are going to be positioning yourself for the exams in relation to that. So that is also about management accounting. Any questions, you put it in the chat box for me. Next area is public sector accounting and finance. I think I saw some people talking about that in the chat. Public sector accounting and finance. Now, when it comes to public sector accounting and finance, there are a couple of things that you must understand as well about public sector accounting and finance. I think I've mentioned this over and over again in relation to that. Now, last semester, the examination was about 80% syllabus coverage. Okay, so it was about 80% of the syllabus coverage. Very importantly, two topics were not examined last semester. That is public expenditure and accountability framework, PIFA, public expenditure and accountability framework, as well as budget. These were not examined. There was just a 2-mark question on the difference between budgeting and planning. So really budget, even though it is fundamental when it comes to public sector accounting, Last semester, the examiner did not set a question on it. And also public expenditure and financial accountability, PFA, is also fundamental when it comes to public sector accounting and finance. But last semester, the examiner did not bring any question on them. So make sure that you go through these things very well. The PFA, there are 7 pillars there. Remember and understand them very well. Then about budgeting, make sure that you understand the concept very well in relation to that. So how about performance of students and what we need to look out for in relation to that? Now, again, the examiner mentioned here that students were ill prepared and such students failed the exams woefully. Okay, so many students were ill prepared for the public sector examination, and such students, according to the examiner, failed woefully. It means that the failure rate was not good, sorry, in relation to that. So that is one thing you must understand about that. The second thing is the exam structure. The exams structure. Now, based on the examiner's report, the public sector exam structure is going to be critical thinking and practical in relation to that. So there's going to be critical thinking and really practical questions. And this goes to also those of you writing tax, whether you're writing principle of tax level 2 or advanced taxation in level 3, your question is going to be critical and very practical based questions. So it's not just about chew and pour, recollect and then come and pour, or chew some bababi and come and pour. No, the examiner is going to put you in a spot where you are going to be looking at various issues in relation to that. Then there was, or we saw also the issue in relation to memo writing. Memo writing. And according to the examiner, many students were having problems with it. Please note that at the level 2 and level 3 level, it is normal for you to be asked to write a memo or to write a report. And these two were in the exam hall last semester. Question 4A was about write a memo on the procedure of disposal of government stores. And then question 3BI was write a report discussing and analyzing the financial position. And there was another question on question 4 to write a memo to justify the usage of single source as a procurement method based on the Public Procurement Amended Act 2016, Act 914 in relation to that. So you have to learn the pro forma of memo, how reports are written in relation to that. So don't just be reading and be chewing baba. Understand what the report is, understand what a memo is. Now, in case you have problem with these things, you can go to the examiner's reports, you can print the past question, that's the November exams, and go to the solution column and find out how a memo is prepared, how a report is prepared, the various components of it, the heading, to, from, subject, your date, you have an introduction, and then you pick the things one after the other in relation to that. Jamel Imoru said, sorry, I joined late. Don't worry, Jamel. If you have any questions, you put it in the chat box for me in relation to that. So learn memo writing and report writing. Like I mentioned, this is not only to public sector students, but also applies to students in the level 2 and level 3, generally in various subjects. Because one thing that I have seen going through the subjects across board was the issue in relation to memo writing and reports. It's been in the question and it's been there over and over again. So you got to make sure you understand and know how to deal with that. Then another thing you need to also note you should note is also about overall understanding of the question. Overall understanding of the question. Now, when it comes to the overall understanding of the question, per the examiner reports, the examiner assessed that about 30% of the question, of the students fairly understood the question, whilst 70% of the candidates poorly understood the question. So there is a problem about understanding of the question. And the reason could be because of the fact that students are poorly prepared, and so they don't even understand what public sector is about. And two, students don't read the question very well. So if you don't read the question well, you will certainly not understand it in relation to that. So that is one thing you need to understand about the understanding. So if about 30% of students were having a fair understanding of the question, meaning the answers they wrote like close in relation to that. So it could tell you that the pass rate will be a little above 30 or something like that in relation to that. So you make sure that as a student, you have an understanding of the question. And the way you can have an understanding of the question is to make time to go through the things in the syllabus in relation to that. So what areas do we look out for the examination when it comes to public sector, accounting, and finance? Remember, I have told you this. If you're writing public sector, accounting, and finance, there are a couple of acts you must know about. The first one is the Public Financial Management Act, 2016, Act 921. There will be a question from this act. So I've told you before that you should go and download it. In case you've not downloaded, make sure you just Google it. You will be able to download it. It's a free document available. In this document, you will see the roles of the Minister of Finance, spending officer. Last semester, there was a question about the principal spending officer, chief director, what is their role? You will get all of these, some issues about budgeting, issues about the consolidated fund, all of these things, everything about public financial management really is in this act. Now, it doesn't mean the act is the only thing you have to note because it just covers a portion of the syllabus, but it's an act you must get and make sure you go through per the syllabus. I've told you all the time that irrespective of who is teaching you and then which book you are using, the syllabus must be your guide. All right, the syllabus must be your guide. So you have to look at the syllabus yourself and find out whether what you are being taught or what you are learning or the book that you are reading, whether what you are reading is in the syllabus and whether everything is in the syllabus is actually in the book. Very, very important. So you don't just stand there or sit there and somebody is talking to you or you are reading a book and that is all. No, you got to figure it out yourself and find out whether what your lecturer or whether the book you are reading on, spending much time on, whether it's really warrants so in the syllabus. You have to note this yourself so that, because I've told you yesterday, like I told you yesterday, your life is in your hand. You don't put it into the hand of anybody. You have to decide what you have to do in relation to that. The second act is the Public Procurement Amended Act. The Public Procurement Amendment Act 2016, Act 914. Why is this important? Because definitely there is a question on public procurement waiting for you in the exam hall. Definitely. there is a question on public procurement waiting for you in the exam hall. Like I mentioned last semester, there was a question about disposal of government vehicle, and also the issue in relation to a single sourcing. So definitely you need this act in relation to that. So make sure you get these two acts in relation to that to be able to go through it in that case. Augustine has put a statement there. Let's see it. About 80% of tutors or lecturers are also not helping students. They are stuck to their old systems of teaching. As a result, students get less exposure to various forms of questions and areas. Yeah, to some extent, yes, you can blame tuition providers, lecturers, and then tutors. But like I said yesterday, it's in your hand. Are you getting it? So if you sit down, because you have to also understand what the tuition providers or the lecturers are tasked to do. You are using, on the average, about 4 months to finish the syllabus. Okay, some tuition providers don't use 4 months. Some tuition providers do maybe around 3 months in relation to that. And you have to finish the entire syllabus. And the syllabus is also bulky. There are a lot of things you need to look out for. So most of the time, they want to cover the syllabus, because when they don't cover the syllabus, it's not good. So there are times when they ask students, some ask students to go and read certain areas, and they will look at certain areas. And in the class, the lecturer cannot solve as much questions as possible. And yes, I am MBA syllabus, no, we can't finish the syllabus. So you, the student, must explore. That is why I tell you guys that you don't just attend lectures and think you pass the exams because you are attending lectures. No, what you attend lectures to go and learn is just a small percentage of what you need to know in order for you to pass the exams. So yes, we could say some tuition providers and lecturers are stuck in their old system, like the way you are saying. But like I said, the lecturer or the tutor is to provide you with the intro, the understanding, but it will be your responsibility as a student to explore. Now, I know somebody will say, Nhyira, I'm busy. And so that is why I attend lectures. I want the lecturer to provide me with the areas because I don't get time to study any longer. It is only the one that I learn in the class that I use. Okay, then prepare to fail the exams. Okay, this is what I spoke about yesterday about egoism, because a lot of you are full of yourself and you think that you are entitled. No. So yes, don't rely on any tuition provider. That's why yesterday I told you, ICAG is not responsible for your studies. Your tuition provider or your lecturer is not responsible for your studies. You are totally responsible for your studies in relation to that, because you can't blame people. You got to be responsible. So if you attend lectures and the lecturer introduces you to something, you must explore further. You must read further. You must watch some of Nhyira's video, or maybe I am the one teaching you. We've done something in class. You have to come to the YouTube channel and come and find other lecture videos, or watch other videos as well on the study portal, because that is how you need to look at it in relation to that. For instance, through the period of lockdown, we were still having lectures and we were solving questions a lot. And throughout the period, many a times, some of the students are like, wow, this question, if it had come in the exam, or I thought I knew it, but the aspect of the question, the way the question is said, we are not familiar with it. And I'm saying, yeah, so it was good. There was a lockdown, so you could have a lot of time, then we could solve a lot of questions, so you could be able to prepare for the exam. So yes, to some extent, we can blame tutors and lecturers, but like I said, you are responsible for everything, all right? So public sector, these two acts, very critical in relation to that. So what areas do we look out for in public sector, basically? What areas do we look out for in public sector? Number one, IPSAS, I guess I've mentioned this over and over again. There is a question waiting for you on IPSAS. Last semester, there was a question about the IPSAS 17 property, plant and equipment, and then IPSAS 12 inventory. There was a question on that. And then IPSAS 3 accounting policy, changes in estimates and errors. There was a question on that as well in the exam hall. So you have to make sure you spend some time to understand the IPSAS. Like I said, last semester, 17, 12, and then 3. That is 17 is property, plant, and equipment. 12 is inventories. And then 3 is accounting policies, changes in estimates and errors. So IPSAS will be critical, will be there. Then there will be also a question, in addition to the IPSAS, conceptual framework. Conceptual framework for general purpose financial reporting in the public sector. This is where we're talking about issues such as measurement basis of transactions, like using the current fair value, the market value, the historical cost. So measurement basis usually of items in the, or elements in the financial statement. Last semester, there was a question about that as well in relation to that. So IPSAS, conceptual framework for general purpose financial reporting, critical area, you need to look at it as a financial or public sector student. In addition to that, we know definitely there will be a final account question. So preparation of the statement of financial performance, statement of financial position, all right? It's a final account question. Certainly the examiner will bring that there for us in relation to that. So you got to be in a position to understand that. Then performance evaluation or performance assessment. There'll be a question on performance evaluation. Remember, I told you that when it comes to public sector, accounting and finance, performance evaluation here is a different thing altogether. Now, when I say it's a different thing altogether here, you are calculating certain ratios that you are not familiar with in the public sector, but well established in financial reporting in relation to that. So the ratios you compute in financial reporting, that is not what we are doing in public sector here. It's a different ball game altogether. Last semester, for instance, students were requested or required to calculate things like gross debt, net debt percentage, debt per capita, debt to GDP, total asset to GDP, capital assets per capita. So you were supposed to calculate all of these. Then when you finish, you write a report discussing and analyzing the financial position of the organization. So performance evaluation, a regular customer, it's going to be there in relation to that. Public procurement, definitely there is going to be a question on that. So you got to be on the lookout for on it in relation to that. Then the public-private partnership agreement or arrangement, there's also going to be a question on that in the exam hall. Last semester, the questions were around the issue in relation to benefits of the partnership arrangement as well as the general principles. So aside these areas, you have to look at the other areas when it comes to PPP to be able to position yourself for the exam in relation to that. So generally, when it comes to public sector accounting and finance, these are also the things that you must understand. Any questions for me? You can put it in the comment box or the chat box so I can answer them. Now, so let's move on to the next thing, and that is going to be, let me see my comments. Advanced audit and assurance, that's level 3. Okay, so let's talk about that. Now, when it comes to advanced audit and assurance, it's a reading, like purely reading areas. There you may be doing some calculation aspects, dealing with the issue about materiality, and probably sometimes the accounting issues as well of the transaction in relation to that. But generally, when it comes to issues about audit planning, sorry, audit and assurance, there are a couple of key issues you must focus on. The first one, as always, is the appointment. Factors to consider on the appointment. Definitely, there will be a question waiting for you on that. Then the issue about audit planning, which I did a 2-part series this week on. So in case you missed that, you can watch that on the channel, audit planning. Now, so aside audit planning, another area that we need to now remember at audit planning, there are a couple of things you need to be looking at. The risk assessment, very, very important. At the planning stage of the audit, you need to look at that. Yesterday in the advanced audit class, we were solving a couple of questions, and it was just interesting in relation to that. Then you come to the audit risk. Definitely, there will be a question around the audit risk, and you have to be in the position to be able to answer that. Then audit procedure. There's a question waiting for you on that, the AEIOU, but it will be applicable on the specific scenario under consideration. So you have to make sure that you understand that very well. Then issue in relation to ethics. The examiner is going to put you there. So what are the ethical issues that may arise, and what is the appropriate course of action? And we've done some series also on ethics. And I told you that if the examiner asks you any questions about ethics and he says, what are the appropriate action, or what appropriate action do you take? There are 3 things you must understand generally. Number 1 is that you need to confront the issue, handle it the way it has to be handled. Number 2, you seek for advice. And then number 3, you can resign. So that is it about that. So Now, aside this, another thing that you need to look at is the issue in relation to reporting. And when we say reporting at this level, I've mentioned to you the things that we're talking about. We're talking about issues like subsequent events or the events after the reporting period. We're talking about the overall review of the financial statement. We are talking about other information like the director's report, management minutes, management accountant reports, all of that. Then we are talking about going concern, very critical. And going concern is fundamental aspect in relation to that. Now, if it's a group audit, then you need to deal with the issues about principal auditors, the component auditors, the factors you need to take into consideration as well in relation to that. So generally, with advanced audit and assurance, these are the things that we can talk about. Then for those of you who are writing the ICA, there is public sector auditing there. Definitely, there is going to be a question coming from that area. Then also some issues about using the work of experts or internal auditors or other auditors. That question is very, very critical in advanced audit and assurance. The examiner may be throwing you questions at that in relation to that. I see a comment from Patience. She said, "Sir, please, how different are the ratios you are talking of in performance management under public sector accounting and finance from that of financial reporting?" Very, very different. So let me give you some glimpse. So let's put FR here and let's put PSA here. Okay. So FR on one side, PSA on the other side. In FR, you are computing issues like ROSI, okay, return on capital employed, AT, asset turnover, NPM, that is the net profit margin, GPM, gross profit margin, current ratio, okay, quick ratio, trade receivable days, trade payable days. Like, these are some of the things you'll be computing in financial reporting. But in public sector, it's going to be different. Like I mentioned, you're going to be computing things such as GDP per capita. GDP per capita means if we share the GDP of Ghana against the population or with the population, how much will everybody get? Or what is the contribution that so what contribution is is each person, individual contributing or so GDP per capita. Aside that, you may be required to calculate something like debt to GDP, or you can also calculate something like capital asset per capita, or you may be required to calculate something like employee emolument to total expenditure. Okay, so that's it. So you realize that, and when you are doing the interpretation, public sector interpretation is tougher than financial reporting interpretation, because financial reporting You may be talking about issues like increase in sales, change in cost of sales, change in expenses, and inventory turnover, those kind of things. But in the public sector, you are looking at the public as a whole. You have to look at the populace as a whole. You have to look at the policies that government is making. You have to look at the government expenditure, where it's going and where it's not going. You have to look at the sources of revenue and why they were not able to generate more. Why are the population? Why is it that the population is increasing, but the GDP per capita is falling? So your analysis is on a macro level, okay? But in the FR, your analysis will be on more or less like a micro level in relation to that. So that is the difference that we can talk about in performance evaluation in the financial reporting and in public sector. So patients, are you okay now? Let me know in the chat box if you are okay. Now, when it comes to the issue in relation to still level 3, and that is corporate reporting or advanced financial reporting, for those of you doing advanced financial reporting, same as corporate reporting in other things, or SBR, which is strategic business reporting in ACCA. Patients said, also, please go over the going concern you were figuring out on reporting a while ago. The going concern I was talking about is in relation to audits, advanced audit and assurance. And patients, I don't think you mentioned you are doing advanced audit and assurance, because I was talking about that in relation to advanced audit and assurance. Are you writing advanced audit and assurance? So the reporting or these were in relation to advanced audit and assurance, not about financial reporting. Many thanks, you have really highlighted it for me. Okay, you are welcome. So in corporate reporting, what do we do? What do we look at in relation to that? As always, accounting standards. Patience, you said yes, please. Does it mean you are talking about that in relation to audit and assurance? So I was saying that one of the things at the reporting or as a topic, reporting in advanced audit and assurance, I mentioned the issue about going concern. And I said, there are two things you must understand about going concern: indicators of going concern, and then the mitigating factors. In other words, what are the things that will show that the entity has a going concern problem? These are the indicators, and the mitigating factors are the solution that they have put in place as an organization. So for instance, if there is a loss of a key staff, that is a going concern problem. But if the entity has appointed a new capable staff like that, then the going concern is no more an issue because they have mitigated it, or they have lost a key customer. And I used to make this illustration. Let's say we produce Sobolo, and every day West Hill Small buys 10,000 bottles of our Sobolo, and every day we produce 15,000. So it means that they are taking about 66 or 67% of our production capacity. Then all of a sudden they say they won't buy again. Okay, so we've lost a key customer. That is a going concern problem. But if during the year that we lost West Hills Mall, we signed a deal with Marina Mall, and Marina Mall says that, hey, they are going to now buy 12,000 Sobolo or 12,000 bottles of Sobolo from us every day. That is a mitigating factor. It means, yes, there is an indication, but the indication has been mitigated in relation to that. And as auditors, we need to understand these so that we can assess the going concern of the organization. Because if we issue an unmodified auditor's report, that is issuing an unqualified auditor's opinion to say that the financial statement prepared as a whole or taken as a whole represents the true and fair view of the entity, and after 3 months the business collapsed, it means we did not do our job very well in relation to that. So that is the concept about going concern. So when it comes to corporate reporting, I think Samuel Quasin mentioned that he is writing all the level 3 papers. So when it comes to corporate reporting, as always, financial reporting standards, we cannot overemphasize that. So there will be questions on standards that you need to look out for as a student. So financial reporting standards, very critical aspect of the syllabus. You need to make sure that you understand. Then interpretation of financial statements. We're going to be having a question on that. At this level, the interpretation is going to be different from the level 2 that you know. So Patience said, thanks, sir, you are welcome. So the interpretation at this level is going to be different. Sometimes you may not be required to do any computation. The computation plus additional information will be given, and then you are doing the interpretation straight up. At this level, you must make sure that you have a deeper understanding of what you are doing in relation to that. So that is critical. That is crucial in relation to your understanding of it. So interpretation of financial statements. Next one is question 5, and that is some theory areas such as ethics. Definitely there is a question waiting for you on that. Conceptual framework and regulatory framework. Definitely there is a question waiting for you on that. And then the issue in relation to, so ethics, conceptual framework, and some current issues. Okay, some current issues. The examiner can throw you a question on that. Then I see a comment from Victor Droko. He said, please, when are you starting management accounting? I've already explained man accounting, Victor. I guess to that. You are saying, Victor, I have discussed the issue about man accounting already in that case. Then Victor, you are saying, I prefer the Zoom to YouTube. We are currently not having open Zoom sessions. Our Zoom sessions are held with our students on campus as well as the online students in relation to that. But we currently don't have the open Zoom sessions. I'm using the Zoom because of my devices and my presentation, so that I can use it to live stream on YouTube. So that is it about that. If we're referring to the analysis and the areas for management accounting, I've already done that, and you can rewatch the video so that you'll be able to understand it in relation to that. So financial reporting, corporate reporting, you make sure you understand financial reporting standards, interpretation of financial statements, the theory area, very critical, ethics, there is a question waiting for you on ethics, conceptual framework, there is a question there, and some current issues, there is question there in relation to that. Now, you see the way I am going. That is how I expect you to go in the exam hall. Again, don't go and start with consolidation to cripple yourself. It depends. If you are strong in console, you can start. But if I were you, I will go to the question 5, which is the theory area, write them out quickly. I save time. If I were you, I will build my strength well on the financial reporting standards. I go there and then I deal with the treatment in relation to that. Then the interpretation of the financial statement, then you will be able to also deal with that. So before you go to the consolidated financial statement, you have already scored about 60, or this is about, these 3 areas cover like 65% in relation to that, 65% in that case. So this is very critical, and this is very, very important in that case. So after this, we go to the area in relation to question 1, and that is consolidated financial statement. Consolidated financial statement. So certainly the examiner is going to be bringing a question on the consolidated financial statement. So you got to make sure that you understand, build your understanding very well. We've done a lot in relation to consolidated financial statement, and I believe that you have also, or you are also solving a questions or some questions in relation to that. So you make sure you build your understanding on these areas in that case. Then the last thing will be question 3, usually, which is a difference or a swapping between business valuation and corporate restructuring and financial reorganization. Okay. One of them will be in the exam hall in relation to that. So as a corporate reporting student, that's also an area that you need to look out for in that case. So any comments for me so far? Victor said, okay, thanks, sir. You are welcome, Victor. Now, I'll be holding a special Zoom session for especially students who have written some papers more than once. Okay, it's a special Zoom session that I'll be holding for you guys somewhere around next week, and that'll be a private Zoom session. We'll not be streaming on YouTube. It will be private Zoom session. So details of that will be posted on my Facebook page, my Instagram account, Nhyira Premium, and also on the YouTube community page here. So if you are following us, make sure you subscribe to the channel and you check that out. I'll be holding a private Zoom session, like I mentioned, for students who have written certain papers more than once. I want to assist you, provide you with some specific areas, hold your hands, mentor you, so that you'll be able to prepare well for the exams in relation to that. So if it is something you'll be interested in to join a private session, you make sure you keep following us. And for those of you who have our contact already, you can call or WhatsApp us. And if the details is available, it will be communicated to you, so you'll be able to join the stream in relation to that. Okay, so let me make sure I touch on everybody's comments, like in terms of the subjects you are doing. Spoken about audit and assurance. I've spoken about corporate reporting, advanced We've spoken about PSA, FR. I've spoken about corporate reporting. I just finished with that. FR and MA, I've spoken about it. Okay. So I think I'm gonna be ending around here today for our discussion. I believe that it's been a good discussion so far. Remember, on this channel, we have lecture videos on various things you need for the exams. So, and I'll be coming your way all the time, or we'll be releasing content on the channel. So make sure you keep following me as we go on this journey, especially in this less than 40 days, so I can assist you in order for you to prepare well for the examination in relation to that. So make sure you take note of that and make sure you keep on following us so that I can assist you to prepare well for your examination in relation to that. It's always a privilege to come your way. It's been a very interesting week. We started the week looking at advanced audit and assurance, audit planning, and then we looked at a couple of things in relation to the exam strategy in that case. Okay, I see a comment from patient. Nhyira, please, the way to solve CFS questions, does it go for the same solution with the other professional consolidated financial statement questions? Does it go for the same solution with the other professional takes like ACCA, ICA, and CIMA? Now, when it comes to setting of consolidated financial statement question, like the way you solve it, yes, it goes across, but you have to always look at the the question that is being asked. So it depends on the question and the way you're going to be structuring in relation to that. Because in ACCA, when you're preparing the consolidated financial statement and you're doing corporate reporting, the structure of the question is different from, or strategic business reporting rather, the structure of the question is different from ICA's consolidated financial statement question in corporate reporting. Are you getting the idea? So the principles are the same. Yes, group structure. Yes, net asset of the subsidiary, intra-group trading, fair value adjustment, goodwill calculation. Yes, these principles are the same, but the structure of the questions usually is different. So you have to understand where you are to be able to apply and know what you need to do in relation to that. But basically, the principles are the same in that case. So patience, that is the answer to your question. Any other questions for me? So I'm going to be concluding here today, and we'll meet again tomorrow, God willing, same time, 4:30 p.m. or 1600 GMT in relation to that. Jonas said, thank you, sir, for today's session. It's a pleasure, Jonas. Okay. Patience said, noted with thanks, sir. You are welcome, Patience. So keep on studying, keep on working hard, keep on putting in the pressure as much as possible in relation to that. If there are any inquiries that you have, or maybe you want to enroll in any of our courses online and be able to study directly under my mentorship and get access to me, be able to ask me questions, you know what to do. You can reach us 050-114-9296 on WhatsApp or on phone with any inquiry, and we will be able to address it and assist you in order for you to prepare for your examination in relation to that. So thank you very much. And Patience said, God bless you for your time. God bless you also for taking time to join me. So thank you very much, everybody. Let me see if I can give some shout outs. David Emerem, MCA, Samuel Kwasin, Ebenezer Atta, Andrew Opombeko, Jonas, Swanika, Kwame Prince, Nuhu, um, Shomachado, then Patience, who has become a regular customer, Mohammed, Sakib, John Edu, and everybody, Kletos, Wanami, Godwin, Charles, Augustine, and all of you guys, Jamil, Imoru, all of you guys, thank you very much for taking time always to join the stream in relation to that. So I'll see you same time tomorrow as we continue with our journey towards the ICA May 2020 examination, which is slated for July 13th, 2020. So that's it. Thank you, and you take care of yourself.